An observation log of my fiancée who calls herself a villainess. Episode 6. The quiet weight of being cherished in the soft hush after chaos. Something far more dangerous than conspiracy settles in genuine care. Episode 6 of An observation log of my fiancée who calls herself a villainess is not merely a resolution to bullying. It is a tender, devastating study of what happens when a self-proclaimed villainess realizes she is being protected, and the observer who once watched her for entertainment discovers he can no longer remain detached. This episode feels like stepping into a sunlit courtyard after a storm. The air is clearer, but the ground is still damp with lingering tension. It masterfully balances sharp comedic revenge, quiet psychological unraveling, and the slow bloom of romantic intimacy. Where previous episodes reveled in Bersha's chaotic energy, episode 6 lingers on the emotional cost of her performance, and the gentle, inexorable way Cecil refuses to let her carry it alone. The episode opens in the aftermath of violence. Bersha, still shaken, recounts to Cecil how she was pushed down the stairs. Her voice trembles not from fear of the act itself, but from the burden of naming the shadow behind it. Cecil listens with that signature calm, yet something has shifted. The prince who once observed her like a fascinating specimen now speaks with quiet steel. I simply cannot bring myself to leave this alone any longer. What follows is a meticulously orchestrated takedown of the true culprit, Island Silberts, driven not by abstract justice, but by Cecil's visceral reaction to seeing something he delights in harmed. The revenge is deliciously clever. Chemical evidence on shoes, a wig, the public unmasking of framing the heroine Heronia. Yet beneath the courtroom drama satisfaction lies a deeper ache. Island's obsession with Fan Nil, her jealousy-fueled cruelty, becomes a mirror for how easily love can curdle into destruction when unreciprocated and unexamined. The true emotional climax arrives not during the confrontation, but afterward. Bersha collapses from accumulated exhaustion and sleepless nights. The villainous act has been costing her more than she let anyone see. In her fevered state, she whispers that it's a nice dream to be cared for. Cecil's response is devastating in its simplicity. He stays. He watches over her. He lets the others in not as a prince managing appearances, but as someone who understands she needs her found family. 2 months later, the Hom Academy culture fair explodes with color and life. Amidst the festival atmosphere, Cecil and Bersha are voted best couple. The public declaration forces Bersha's carefully constructed walls to crack spectacularly. Her embarrassed panic, Cecil's quiet delight, and the tender moment where he wipes cream from her lips. All of it culminates in a public affirmation of what has been quietly growing in private. The episode closes on a side story about fireworks, symbolizing Bersha's desire to create beauty and excitement while Cecil's fascination with gunpowder hints at his own growing willingness to embrace chaos for her sake. Bersha, Tia. This episode peels back her performance. The villainous persona has been her armor, but it is also her cage. We see the psychological toll, hypervigilance, self-imposed isolation in her scheming, and the deep fear that she is inherently unlovable or replaceable. Her collapse reveals the exhaustion of constantly fighting a script she believes is written against her. Yet, in her vulnerability, she becomes even more radiant. Her final resolve, "I'm going to work my very hardest," is not naive optimism but a quiet, determined step toward accepting support. Cecil, the emotional evolution here is profound. The detached observer is transforming into a protector. His line about feeling the pain of harm befalling something that I delighted in marks the moment his fascination graduates into something deeper, territorial tenderness. He no longer merely watches, he intervenes. Decisively, comforts gently, and publicly claims her. His anger at Island is icy and controlled, but his care for Bersha is warm and unwavering. He is learning that love is not just observation, it is action and presence. Supporting cast, Heronia, Fanil, Nelt, and the student council function as an extension of Cecil's will, but also as Bersha's genuine support network. Their loyalty reveals how Bersha's chaotic sincerity has earned her something the heroine role could never claim: authentic relationships. At its heart, Episode 6 explores the healing power of being witnessed correctly. Bersha has spent her second life waiting for the tragic script to claim her. Cecil's gaze rewrites the narrative, not by denying her villainous identity, but by refusing to let it define her suffering. The episode also delves into emotional labor and exhaustion. Being entertaining has a cost. Love, the show suggests, should lighten the load rather than add to it. Another thread is jealousy versus delight. Island's destructive jealousy contrasts beautifully with Cecil's constructive delight in Bersha's uniqueness. Where one destroys, the other nurtures. The pacing is impeccable, tight during the investigation and confrontation, then deliberately languid during Bersha's recovery and the festival scenes. The shift from cool, calculated tension in the courtyard to warm, golden festival lighting mirrors the emotional journey from defense to celebration. Silence speaks volumes. The quiet moments beside Bersha's bedside, the pause after she calls it a nice dream, the way Cecil's rare displays of anger ripple through the crowd. The culture fair sequences burst with vibrant energy, making the best couple announcement feel like a well-earned fireworks display of its own. Sound design likely leans into delicate strings during vulnerable moments and swelling, hopeful orchestration during the festival. Here are all the best scenes of the episode 9-1. The bedroom confession. Bersha's whispered, "This is a nice dream," and Cecil's steadfast presence. Pure emotional devastation and healing in under a minute. Point 2. The shoe evidence reveal. A masterclass in satisfying justice, elevated by Cecil's quiet fury and Nelt's adorably nerdy enthusiasm. Point 3. Cream on the lips. Intimate, playful, and loaded with romantic tension. The public nature makes it even more potent. Cecil is no longer hiding his affection. Point 4. Best couple announcement. Bersha's full system meltdown contrasted with Cecil's serene pride. Comedy and romance perfectly balanced. Episode 6 is the moment observation log graduates from charming reincarnation comedy into something more profound. A story about two people learning to rewrite fate through care. It doesn't just resolve conflict. It affirms that being seen, protected, and cherished can be more powerful than any grand destiny or villainous script. By the end, you don't just root for Cecil and Bersha. You feel the quiet revolution in both their hearts. The former villainess daring to believe she deserves happiness, and the once distant prince discovering that true entertainment was never the performance. It was the person behind it. This is comfort television elevated to art. Gentle, sharp, emotionally intelligent, and deeply romantic. If you've ever felt like you had to perform a role to be worthy of love, episode 6 will wrap around your heart like a warm blanket and refuse to let go. The observation log continues, and somehow, it has never felt more like a love story.